The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
Wrestling to the Max, Monday Night Raw, Review.
Welcome, everybody, to Wrestling to the Max's Raw Review for November 21st, 2016, and boy, do we have one for you. This is, of course, the fallout for Survivor Series, so we've got lots of things coming for you, some big news with Goldberg, and some other interesting things when it comes to those results. Here we are a part of the W2M network. We are going to have a really cool set of stuff for you this week because it is, of course, Thanksgiving week. So we're going to have a few shows on the network for you guys to go check out. So, hey, if you're going to be driving long distances in the car, just go subscribe to the W2M network. You're going to have a plethora of great shows to listen to. Also, go to W2Mnet.com for all your written wrestling needs. That's right. You can go there and check out all the great content that we have in the world of wrestling, as well as football and video games. But now it is time for us to get into some Monday Night Raw.
All right. Well, yes, I'm here, actually. You're hearing my voice. But,
yeah, Sean.
we're doing this kind of in a weird order. Technically, if you're listening to these and you decided to listen to them in actual show order, we did Raw first, then we did, because, we're doing these shows with the full knowledge of what happened on Raw, so it doesn't really matter, but we did Raw first, then went back and did Survivor Series and Takeover, and then we did the part one at last. So I'll give some, whatever. Well, I'll talk about something about why I wasn't on the show last week. But
yeah. Well,
anyway,
you just broke you broke kayfabe already, so
hey, you know what? We break WWE's kayfabe all the time. Might as well break kayfabe for our own show.
Right.
So they were, of course, this is the last night of them being in the Air Canada Center in Toronto, Canada, where you finally had some idiots decide that they wanted to chant "You screwed Brett" at one Bill Goldberg, who came out. I know that Brett told Bill Goldberg not to hurt him, but at the end of the day, Eric Bischoff should have never made that match. So perhaps we should be chanting Eric Bischoff. Screwed Brett instead. But anyway, so they decide to start the show with, of course, a recap of Survivor Series and that thrilling, or not so thrilling, depending on who you are, ending to the Goldberg Brock Lesnar match, and of course Bill Goldberg comes out to live in the glory a little bit. And also confirm what had been announced on, Pro Wrestling Sheet and other places, that apparently before the show even started, which I guess wouldn't matter because the Royal Rumble is not somewhere where you just do technical wizardry or anything. The match, anyway. Bill Goldberg had already been promised a Royal Rumble match spot. And so perhaps that had to do with why the finish happened the way it did. But so Goldberg announces that the entire Royal Rumble match is next. And, thanks his wife and his kid and everything else. And that's the last we're probably going to see of Bill Goldberg until they start ramping it up for Royal Rumble. Gary, how do you feel about knowing that they're playing up, does Bill Goldberg have one more title run in him?
It's quite funny. I understand where they're wanting to lead us to, us to get hyped about the fact that, the guy that just defeated Brock Lesnar is going to be running for the title. I guess if you are just a casual fan, you could say, I buy into it, but man, we know, I think all of us know that's not going to be actually happening. He's going to get in that match at the Royal Rumble, do a few great spots, and then someone's going to probably throw him over the top rope.
Gary, you should be ready to put your foot in your mouth supremely. Because this is the same. We are all the same people that said there is no way that Goldberg is beating Brock Lesnar, and look what happened.
Yeah, and I was going to save my rant and raves.
We don't have to rant about that right now. I'm just saying, this is the company that decided to put Bill Goldberg over Brock Lesnar in less than a minute 30. I wouldn't put it past them to decide at the last minute, as they usually do, to say, you know what, fuck it, Goldberg is winning the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, I get that, and I understand the thought process of Bill Goldberg, being a headliner at WrestleMania, but then again, that goes completely against my thought process, because Bill Goldberg, unless he takes this entire rest of the year leading up to actual WrestleMania 33 and trains hardcore, I don't think he's ready, especially if he takes long breaks. I don't know that this guy at his age, at the fact that he's still really, honestly, sure, he had a match. That wasn't a wrestling match. So he still hasn't yet had a wrestling match. So
I know,
that's what bothers me.
It doesn't have to, remember, they just did a triple main event. They don't have to have it end the show. They can have Goldberg versus whoever the Universal or the WWE champion is in the middle of WrestleMania. And it can be 3 minutes, and it's not going to matter so much as long as it doesn't go on at the end.
You're completely right. I don't know, Paul. I don't see it happening right now at this moment. I don't. But how do you feel about it?
I'm at the point after Survivor Series where I'm like, fuck it. Let Goldberg win the Rumble and just watch this company burn around you because you refuse to make new stars or make the correct decisions when it matters the most. I'm so done with this company.
Hold on. I'm going. This company is not going to burn around itself if Goldberg wins. It doesn't. They're going to do exactly what they always do. They're going to be fine because they have made decisions for the casual fan for how many years running now, and they've been fine. This is exactly what WWE does every year, and we fall for it and we say, oh, they're finally looking to the future. They're finally going to do something. And it's just, I'm just saying, at this point, I don't think they even think about, I wonder sometimes if they just given up about, okay, well, let's just try to make the brand is officially the star. Let's just freaking do whatever to make sure WrestleMania sells hotcakes and Royal Rumble sells out and everything else, and until we're gun against the, somebody's got a gun to our head, we're not gonna be making sure we have the next crop of people or whatever. I don't know, but
well,
go ahead.
Here's the thing: they have the luxury of doing this. They have the luxury of having two big major titles now because of SmackDown has the actual WWE World Heavyweight Championship and, of course, Universal Championship on Raw. They have that opportunity to basically scratch one off and say, okay, well, this is the one for the gimmick. This is the one we have a celebrity, whatever you want to call Goldberg, because really he's not really a wrestler anymore until he proves it in the ring. And then you have another world title that someone gets to fight for, and that could actually be all the technical wrestling, all the great stuff that we like to watch. So they have that luxury, and I could see where you're coming from on that, Sean, that they would do that. And I don't think it's going to burn the company down. I just think it's a match that I think maybe the smart fans are not going to really care about casual fans may love it. I mean, trust me, there's lots of WCW holdovers like me who enjoy
that
it.
entire
But,
WrestleMania we were at was all about the casual fan.
You're exactly right. I mean, I just still, I don't know. I think Brock Lesnar is going to screw Goldberg over because of what he did it to him in this past pay-per-view. So I kind of feel like that there's going to be a situation where they're going to maybe meet up at WrestleMania, not so much for a title. I don't know. I don't see it happening. I just don't see it.
I don't see it happening, but I mean, for me, this match at Survivor Series is the one too many times. You finally find your breaking point. That was it.
No, I was pissed too.
I mean, and to be fair, Goldberg was way more over than I think any of us anticipated, and even in Toronto, where you could hear boos when he announced that, which I forgot to mention. You could hear boos. You could hear there was some no chants along with the abundance of yes chants. So people were starting to get into that mode of, hey, whoa, hold on now. Like we're getting too hyped with this Goldberg stuff, but you have to wonder, once you get outside of Canada and you get outside of, I don't even know where they're going to be at for SmackDown, and they said Charlotte, North Carolina for Raw next week, and they maybe in Charlotte, especially being Flair country and WCW country and all that stuff. Perhaps you get more of the not so smart crowd, and it's even bigger of a chant of Goldberg. Yes, we want to see that or whatnot. So it's going to be interesting as closer as you get to the Royal Rumble. I've heard some people somehow thinking that Finn Balor is anywhere near over as big as Daniel Bryan was, that we're going to have this smart fans against the casual fans at the Royal Rumble in San Antonio. I just don't see it. I think we might have a situation where if Goldberg is anything but eliminated eliminated at the end, you could have the crowd riot in favor of him. And that's scary, guys. That's scary.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as Finn goes, he was at the ICW show that they did out at the Hydro on Sunday. He ran in and actually attacked Drew Galloway. So maybe there is hope for him to do the Rumble, but you have to have either Goldberg come out and during his entrance Brock beats him up or something like that. You got to make sure you make it definite this guy isn't winning the Rumble, if that's the way they're going to go. For all I know, he's going to walk out there and run through those guys quicker than he did Brock Lesnar because nobody fucking matters anymore, and he's going to win the damn thing in 5 minutes.
I mean, they could just have him show up at number 30 just to protect him more, and then, it's whatever. He has like that mini elimination chamber run where he, like you said, he just run to everybody and wins, or the fans chant Goldberg so much, but leading up to it that they do one of those and they put Goldberg in the they put Goldberg in the title match anyway. So, like, I wouldn't be surprised just to see if Vince wants to stroke his own ego so bad that they don't have Goldberg in the match and then they put him in there because the fans start chanting for Goldberg all the time. So it's like, we might get one of these really weird build-ups to WrestleMania, so it's going to be interesting. But let's finally get out of the Goldberg talk. So we might have already spoiled our Survivor Series argument here, maybe not.
Oh, I got plenty of rage. Don't worry about it.
Oh, great. Great. So we got more rage. More rage coming up for you guys if you're listening to this in the order that we actually recorded it in. But, so anyway, moving on to actually what occurred on this Raw. We did not include, so outside of Goldberg, I think, what was the next thing that they did after Goldberg? Because we apparently do not have the
tag title match.
Okay, the tag title. So they had Cesaro and Sheamus and against the New Day. I was kind of in and out during the match. But of course, New Day still your champions. Still, Cesaro and Sheamus have had themselves a good weekend.
Yeah, they have. And they did pretty well for themselves at Survivor Series. This match, they did pretty well. Honestly, they should have been the tag team champions. Cesaro got, I think it was Kofi Kingston, I believe, if I'm remembering right, to tap. And, of course, Xavier Woods finds a way to distract the referee. And, of course, that leads to the roll-up pin that we all love. Don't you guys love that? I love that so much, the roll-up win. So, there you go. New Day does retain, but it's kind of a cheap way. It's kind of a heel way. Those guys are, supposed to be the big baby faces, but they're still not past cheating, and they did it again this time. So they're still going to continue on, and they're probably going to break that record. They said how long it was on Raw, and I can't remember how far they have to go, but it's going to happen. New Day is going to have the...
Well, I think they officially would break it at Roadblock or the day before Roadblock, or I don't know what the...
24 days, according to Mr. Kofi Kingston.
See? There you go. So I think it's going to happen. I think they're going to break that record. But, Sheamus and Cesaro still doing their thing. They didn't look bad in this. That's the positive thing.
I was expecting a lot more from this match than what we got. It wasn't anything special. It wasn't anything over the top. It was fine. You got your usual spots in from every single one of the guys, but I don't know. I was expecting a lot more than what we got, and what we got was just very middle of the road.
Mm-hmm.
At least you got most of the time, Cesaro and Sheamus kind of working together well here. So they were able to kind of keep it together to actually try to win the tag titles. It wouldn't have made any sense to have a team that's sort of... I mean, not that they have not done this a million times, but it wouldn't have made sense for a team like Cesaro and Sheamus to end their streak now, considering what happened on NXT and the fact that you can still have people be on NXT and do both for a little while. We've seen this before. Would it have been a bad thing if, say, the Revival appear, attack New Day, and this leads to a Revival against New Day tag title match at Roadblock, even though, yes, I know they set up the number one contender match later on the show, and have the Revival be the team that eventually beats New Day after they beat the record?
I mean, that would be really cool. I really want to see the Revival end up on SmackDown, but I'm pretty sure they're going to end up on Raw just because I think Raw needs another team, and one that's not so broken up by the New Day continuously winning. That being said, I mean, it would be cool. I think they're going to either wait until they actually break the record or until... they show up at the end of Roadblock or whatever and set them up for the next challenger. So that way, the New Day's for sure getting the record.
I mean, my only problem with it is I really love Revival and New Day. I think that could be a great feud. My only problem is once you get out of Revival and New Day, it's really bad. On SmackDown you have. I mean, it's sort of the same thing on SmackDown though too. Like once you get outside of the match we've seen a bunch of times, yes, it was a great match, but American Alpha and Revival, you're in that sort of same boat as well. So, do you want them to have a match where a series of matches against a fresh team they haven't faced yet? Or do you want them to go against a team that we know what they can do? The only problem is the Revival can also fall into the same trap that Gallus and Anderson are in too, where Vince may not see a whole lot in them, even though we know they're okay. I want to say great in a different kind of way, and there's always that chance that you get on Raw and they get the worst of the worst there from NXT treatment and don't get that reaction.
That's my biggest fear is if the crowd doesn't react well. And then, of course, you have, either Vince or somebody else,
I just totally see Vince going, oh, we have 4 bald guys now. Let's just make them like an 8-man tag team that we just trot out there constantly.
Yeah, it's exactly my fear. I
Or well,
honestly,
3 bald guys and a guy that barely has
Yeah.
some hair. Sorry.
Exactly. But, I totally see that being an issue. I really do. Not about being bald. It's just I could totally see Vince saying, I really don't get what all these kids like about these guys. They're nobodies. They don't look like a Kaz. What's going on here? Give me more Kazes. Quit giving me these guys who are
say
smaller but
Kaz?
athletic. Okay. Yeah, Big Kaz.
Oh, I'm thinking of Kazarian. I'm sorry.
Oh. So we're not talking Ring of Honor just yet. But, no, I mean, think about that, though. Really, Vince has his own thought process on these tag teams. And you got American Alpha over there on SmackDown, and they're doing fine. But, they're not yet built up the way they need to be built up. And I don't know the Revival coming in, especially right now, if they're going to get treated the way they need to get treated. I think it's got to be some special moment. I think they need to be introduced well. I don't know that they would treat him the right way, so I'm completely happy with them being a part of NXT until they can do that.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I'd honest to God, I could watch the Revival in America wrestle all day. So I am totally okay with them ending up on SmackDown if that's what we get. If they end up on Raw too, I think it'd be equally great. I mean, both brands need to build up their tag division more. I think the tag division on SmackDown is a lot stronger, personally, just because, 1, there's more teams, and 2, you have some room to play with the Usos, I think, as well in all this. So, I think there's a lot to be gained over SmackDown, but Raw needs the team more. So I think it just depends on which way they want to go.
And I agree. They need a team. My fear is right now, that division, I don't think really on either show is getting the love it needs.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's my biggest fear.
I mean, they're trying on SmackDown. They're going to do a tournament. So.
Yeah, and it'll work. I'm hoping when they do that. I just am at this current time as we sit. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. I was surprised that they just announced that as a thing that they're going to go with for like that lead into SmackDown. So I was like, okay, they're going with this. That's cool. So after this, we have, sorry, I'm sort of got like 3 billion things going on here. But they have, of course, Sami Zayn showing up, and Mick Foley telling him, well, you let Raw down because you lost and didn't bring the IC title. And because you failed, you have to face Braun Strowman. And Stephanie, of course, was very happy. And I don't know, Mick Foley didn't seem too happy to be doing this, but he's doing it. And then we have Cedric Alexander and Daivari. And Cedric Alexander beat Daivari. Just why are we having 3-minute matches for the cruiserweights on this show? They did at least promise a triple threat for the cruiserweights to determine a number one contenders match for the first cruiserweight title match that's going to happen on 205 Live. Rich Swann, of course, defeating Noam Dar and T.J. Perkins in about 6.5 minutes. I mean, it was fast, stuff going on. I enjoyed it. But a total of less than 10 minutes for the cruiserweights on this show. 205 Live can't happen fast enough, but I still just... I think the one thing that a lot of people are not talking about so much that comes out of Survivor Series is the whole... Why are we using Raw that is a day ahead of when that show is going to air to be the lead-in for 205 Live? It doesn't make sense to me.
The only reasoning I can come up with is that more people watch Raw, and so they're hoping that the numbers will translate more to the network that way. Even though logistically it would make so much more sense to put them on SmackDown, and maybe they'll get better booking and all that good stuff. Cedric and Arya Davari, they had a fine match. It was 3 minutes, so there's not really a ton you can do. But I think you got a good picture of what at least Cedric's all about. The number one contendership match was fine enough for, I guess, what it was. I mean, the right guy goes over, at least in Rich Swann, so that first match on 205 Live with Kendrick sure to be a barn burner.
Yeah, I agree. And, looking at both these matches, I mean, they did their job and, kind of trying to get these wrestlers over with the crowd. They do this week in and week out, trying to find the combination that works. And the triple threat was definitely more of my favorite ones of the two, I guess I'd say. But both, were decent. Nothing that blew me out of the water. So I'm happy with them for what they were, but not a lot of time, so.
Yeah. It's just, it's the same thing we've talked about for the cruiserweights for a while. Just they don't give them a lot of time. And to be fair, it's not like, this is going to happen, right? Like, they haven't given a lot of time to begin with, but if the crowd's not responding to you, you've also not earned that time. So
Yeah.
that's what makes it difficult, is that you want them to have the time, but if you don't earn the time, you're not going to get it either.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to go on another thing from Survivor Series, I should mention, since we already talked about the tag team match, they did have the Club defeating Golden Truth in about 6 minutes. I mean, Goldust had that cool flying move at the top. That's kind of one thing I remember. I mean, it was like from the outset, you pretty much knew after the way the Club had done actually pretty well in their Survivor Series match. There was no way they were losing here. The thing is that they've already lost to New Day, and it makes you feel like, okay, is this going to be any different than what we've seen already from these guys?
Yeah, and you know what? But really, I didn't think about it too hard because I was just thanking God that these two guys actually got to win a match, and it was nothing spectacular. It was just a average match, so who cares? But at the end of the day, anything that Gallows and Anderson does when it comes to winning is positive, and if they do make a run back at New Day, we've kind of already seen it, so it'd have to be something different, and I don't know how they'll change it up, but. Just happy that they got a win, for God's sakes.
Yeah, they got the win too. They got to they got made to look very strong at Survivor Series too, which I thought was also helpful. So, I mean, they're riding a bit of a wave right now, which is great.
Yeah, hey, you know what? Maybe Vince finally has faith in him after he did the whole, we're gonna build him up to tear him down thing that he loves to do with new people. And I mean, that's good because you hate to see them have their time wasted. But as Carl Anderson said it himself, I got to make that green for my kids because they all love iPads. That's what he cares about.
I'm sure. I'm sure he's very happy with that. And I'm just picturing Vince backstage saying, "All right, do you think we beat the New Japan out of these two guys? Okay, good. Okay, let's go ahead and let them have something now."
That's what's so dumb. They didn't do it with AJ.
Mm-hmm.
Like for a long time they still announced him as maybe he did, for a long time they still announced him as IWGP champion or whatever, and but with Anderson and Gallows, it's like, nope, we just gotta beat him down for a while. We have some more short stuff on this show because why not? And of course, I guess I should mention the short guy, Enzo Amore. I don't know about if Lana Rusev thought what they thought about his little Enzo or anything, but we do get a match based on the fact that because Enzo didn't get the understanding that you text dick pics now. You don't just go around just flaunting it or whatever. Rusev was pissed, and we get this match where Rusev just accolades Enzo, and he wins. Yeah.
Honestly, this is funnier than I expected. I saw the idea, kind of, what they were trying to do here at the very beginning when you didn't see anything. But with him saying, he's going to come in there and beat Kaz down for locking him out naked. I was wondering what he was doing in the hallway naked in the first place. You take a shower in the men's locker room, not outside. Anyway, but this was quite funny. It really was, and you could see Lana kind of trying to take a peek, and it was pretty silly, but funny at the same time. And I appreciate the fact that they did at least let Rusev look good in this match. I was kept thinking, oh God, here we go. Enzo and Kaz are going to do something to make Rusev look terrible, but no, it clean. Rusev wins, and so that's positive for Rusev. And whatever feud or whatever they're doing here, I'm sure it could be interesting down the line. But I think more of the fact that I was more entertained by naked Enzo than I really was the match itself. But that's okay.
I was more entertained by naked Enzo than a lot of stuff on the show, honestly. That backstage thing was quite him reacting to the Shining Stars trying to sell him on Puerto Rico, and him being like, "Dude, you put some of this there, you're probably going to sell more of those brochures or whatever." Yeah, that was great.
Oh, so awesome! I can't lie. So, it makes you wonder what he actually wore to do that, or if yeah.
Maybe he really was all natural underneath that blur. You'll never know, Gary. That's the fun of it. The mystery's alive.
Yeah, I guess it is. It's just, I really wonder if they would be actually willing to do that, but that's just me. Or if Enzo would actually do it.
You never know with Enzo.
Jersey. They're crazy over there.
Exactly.
I just know Jericho and Christian would, but maybe it's because they're Canadian, and they also said it was cold outside that day, so.
So, they also do have Braun Strowman, as you'd expect, beat Sami Zayn in less than 5 minutes. I mean, they have built it up well between Zayn and Braun, where you could have done something where maybe Zayn wins, but I think you saved the Braun winning or losing a match for something that's sort of meaningful. I think this works. Don't know if it's going to be anything more than this going forward, but they've done the storyline well as a sort of first storyline for Braun, and yeah, I mean, I like this.
I had the small sliver of hope during his interaction with Mick and Stephanie that they had sent him to SmackDown. I had a small sliver of hope, and they just crushed it underneath Braun's meaty chest.
The bulge of Braun.
They crushed it all.
Yeah, and I thought the same thing to an extent, Paul. I really kind of thought that maybe they were saying, we're sorry to tell you this, but, you just, we're releasing you. I kind of was hoping they'd say we're releasing you. And, of course, we didn't see him on Tuesday night because Daniel Bryan wouldn't let that guy go unsigned.
Right.
But, I mean, what we get instead is Sami Zayn getting beat down. That way the crowd can say, oh, we don't really need to care about this guy. Look how bad he's getting beat up. So let's care about him even less since we don't even know who this guy really is. And that's the way I kind of felt about it because, all those casuals we always talk about don't know Sami Zayn's rich history. So I'm holding on to that rich history. I kind of understand it. So him getting beat down is not so bad to me. But if I'm a guy that's only been seeing this guy for a little bit here now, I'm just thinking, this guy's terrible. Let's just get him off our TV. Sami Zayn, worthless. And that's what I think that they did with Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman doesn't need to beat up Sami Zayn to look good. They could have at least gave Sami Zayn some effort into this, some offense. That way, at least he could be, hey, I may not beat you, but I'm going to hurt you. And that was not in the question. And then you have to have Mick Foley come out and say, stop the match, stop the match. He can't defend himself. So that makes me think even less of Sami Zayn. Thank you, WWE. I appreciate it. Now Sami Zayn has lost credibility with people that don't really know him.
Yeah, very true. And I think the only thing we haven't talked about here is the sort of fallout from the women's match that they did on the show, which I thought they actually did a pretty good job of inserting one Nia Jax into the title picture, or at least having her breathe around it for now. To have her sort of come out with Charlotte playing around with Sasha, and then agreeing to what you would think is her final rematch against Charlotte in her hometown, where she says, well, I beat you in your hometown, now I'm going to beat you in mine. Ooh. Please don't tell me this is a third time the charm for Sasha to win on Raw. And then you have Nia Jax come out and sort of they play up the fact that Sasha Banks didn't do a whole lot in that match. Let's be honest. And Nia Jax kind of gets in her face. Sasha says, well, when I win my title, we're going to see. And then Bayley comes out to make the save because Charlotte and Nia can't gang up on her. Comes into a tag match. There really wasn't anything. And I like the fact that we're finally getting Nia Jax in here, and also appreciate that somebody realized they put way too much eyeshadow on Nia Jax's Survivor Series, and they went with the less is more approach on Raw as well.
Yeah, this was okay. I mean, this was something that, needed to be done, and they needed to kind of insert Nia Jax somewhere. I don't really have a problem with that. I think that, this is all going to come roundabout the way it needs to, where Nia Jax is a confirmed real deal contender and not on the outside looking in, and I think that's a positive thing. But how is that going to take place unless you do have somebody who's not a heel involved and have that championship around their waist? So as much as I don't want to say it, and I don't know if it's really going to happen, I can't say I'm predicting it, but Sasha Banks winning that title next week in Charlotte, that way she can basically have this big feud with Nia Jax, just makes sense. And it also makes sense for why we saw what we saw on this episode of Raw. At the end of the day, I'm okay with that. Of course, Bayley's going to have her thing with Charlotte. So, you can see some future in, this whole storyline if they do that.
Yeah, I don't really have a problem with all this either. I'm semi-interested in seeing Charlotte and Sasha again, but I'm right there with you, Sean. I really, really hope that this just doesn't end with Sasha winning the belt back again.
Could we? What % chance were you putting on the possibility that they get Charlotte back for Charlotte winning in Sasha's hometown? This is the heel though, so. I think it would make it look really bad if she lost, right?
I'd say like 30%, just because based on obviously what they did at Survivor Series, the heat is going towards Bayley and Charlotte now. So
yeah, to me it looks really bad on Sasha losing again, but it doesn't make a lot of sense just to have the title flip flop again, and I don't want to see a flip flop. I just don't. I'm getting kind of tired of that, and so. To me, it's a no-win situation. I'm really not excited about this at the moment.
I think, it's good in a way because it allows you to, who knows what they're going to... Sasha is in that kind of weird state where technically, we could see her kind of spiral down and lose to Nia and stuff like that, but she's also in a situation where she's obviously over, and they could decide that, Nia Jax is going to be a monster, but she's not going to be the same sort of monster like Braun Strowman, where she's going to be undefeated for a while, and she's not going to lose. She's going to just run all over the division because, for one, let's be honest here, Nia Jax they're not going to have her wrestle Charlotte because people are not going to care. So who knows how long they're going to keep this Bayley and Charlotte thing going. But they could build up to Bayley Nia, or they could have it kind of this be the mid-card feud that we send Sasha to kind of build up, to make Nia, people pay attention to Nia Jax and pay attention to Sasha again, and then you build up a Sasha and Bayley match for WrestleMania or something.
Yeah. You're right, and that could be the way it all works out. At the end of the day, I just hope that path that they take is something that makes sense. It's something that's not going to hurt any of these ladies, because I think this is a good starting point to really grow each of them. We've needed Bayley to get more involved. She's getting more involved. We're going to get to know more about her. Nia Jax the same way. So these newcomers involved with people like Dana Brooke and Charlotte who've been around, and Sasha, of course, is a good thing. And, I can already see it. Maybe next week they really power pack in some, women's matches. Maybe you have that Sasha Banks and Charlotte be later on in the show. Maybe you even have Bayley versus Dana Brooke. And then, of course, Nia Jax can squash Sami Zayn. And there you go.
Maybe so.
The way Sami Zayn's going, that's the way it looks. And Nia Jax, hey, it could definitely help her. I'm kidding, but at the same point, I think Nia Jax is an excellent addition to this roster. I just hope that they grow her the right way.
Yeah, I mean, I really wouldn't be surprised if this ends up in a 4-way at some point, just on how WWE likes to book these things out. But at the same time, I mean, I could see it certainly going the other way where they break this out into 2 feuds with Nia and Sasha, and then Charlotte and Bayley, and you go from there. That being said, though, even if Bayley goes over Charlotte at some point for the championship, they'd be going with a hand that they already know that that Bayley and already knows how to work Nia. Was going to be able to make Nia look good. But at that same token, I'd rather see Nia work with somebody like a Sasha or Charlotte for a long period of time with the championship. I think it could be more fruitful than Bayley. And that's not to say it and knock against Bayley. She's nowhere near as over as she was in NXT right now, Yeah,
but perhaps you keep building Bayley into the title match with Charlotte, and you could. It's look at what they've been doing with Bayley, having her face Dana Brooke that nobody cares about really.
Mm-hmm.
So we do kind of need to take that into account of. Well, we've been having to wrestle this person that, they made her Charlotte's protege, and for a little bit there when we kind of didn't even know what they were doing with Dana, were they trying to turn her face or whatever, people sort of got behind it a bit, just maybe because more that they just hate Charlotte so bad. But, yeah, that's the thing. People just hate Charlotte so bad that almost anyone you put against her, they're going to cheer, and Bayley is perfect for that. I don't know that would happen with Nia, though. You just be kind of just having Nia beat Charlotte just because she's the monster and whatever. The only other thing that we have left is, of course, the main event storyline that I mentioned a little bit earlier. It was set up on a highlight reel with Jericho and Owens kind of boasting about, it was all them that got the team to where they were, and then it was Roman and Rollins' fault that they lost. As typical heels would do. Rollins comes out and said, hey, look, man, I was promised something for being part of this team. And then Foley lets you know that it is a Universal Championship opportunity with Roman Reigns and Chris Jericho banned from ringside. The match is actually really damn good between Rollins and Owens, as you'd expect, especially being in Canada, where they're going to be on Owens' side of it. And then, of course, a masked man shows up. Chris Jericho is under the mask. He gets a pedigree. No Roman Reigns, though. So, his helping out the buddies with the Shield just I guess that only goes so far. Probably because Roman already knows he's got that next opportunity in the bag because he's Roman. But yeah, that's the way they end the show here with Rollins losing to Kevin Owens.
You know, this was a fun match to watch only because the fact you had some of the regular old, hardcore type gimmicks involved, the tables, the chairs, all that good stuff. And for what it was worth, they used them pretty well. I mean, Kevin Owens took the majority of those bumps, and the chair. Oh my God, him landing on that chair! That hurt. That really hurt me. And the table spot was also really cool too. So, and of course, there's a few other things added in. Of course, you have a crowd chasing part, like they always, kind of like throw in every once in a while. So, some good stuff in this. This was not boring. This was actually really entertaining. At the end of the day, though, you figure something's going to happen, and it does. With Chris Jericho getting involved, and I'm really kind of curious to see what Chris Jericho's punishment's going to be for that. But that's really what seals the deal for Kevin Owens to win this match, and it's got to be this way just so they can kind of push Kevin Owens along with Chris Jericho and for it all to be positive. But, the question is where was Roman Reigns? And is this going to make Seth Rollins ask that question, or is he going to ignore it? That's the big thing with me. But I was so thrilled that we didn't have to see Roman Reigns at the end here because I knew his music was going to be the last play tonight, and it wasn't. So.
Yeah, I mean, thank God for that. I didn't get a chance. I had to leave for a meeting up at work, so I didn't get a chance to see this match at all. But from what I'm hearing, it sounds really good. And obviously, it leaves it open for them to do Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns in the future, which very well it is more than likely going to be your main event for Roadblock. So.
Yeah, certainly. So the only thing we got left to do with Raw is to give it a rating.
Yeah, from everything that I saw, I think that they had some short matches that were okay. They had a tag match, that I kind of felt like was a little bit disappointing. I really felt like it could have been better than it was with Sheamus and Cesaro taking on the New Day. Goldberg's promo was, interesting. Wasn't the best of all time or anything, but I think he did okay. All those little things that added up. I've got to give this show. I don't even know if I want to give it a 6. I may even go as low as a 5. It was okay. I was not overly thrilled, though, to be honest with you. It was not a Raw that I would recommend to anybody, honestly.
I was initially leaning towards a 6. I think I'll stick with a 6. The tag match was fine. It just wasn't overly exciting. There's an awesome main event. I really enjoyed the Enzo segment backstage, and I think everything else sort of moved stuff along. There's some bad booking here and there that you usually get on Raw, but it's not anything too terrible that you can't get over quickly. It's just not all very exciting right now.
I'm going to go with a 6 as well. This was kind of a ho-hum ending to that 3-day weekend sort of thing that they had going for Survivor Series. It started off on a high with TakeOver. It kind of went into sort of up and down territory with Survivor Series, and then kind of ended on a really flat note with Raw, sort of the way WrestleMania did. I don't remember how the SummerSlam Raw was at this moment, but so far when you had the 3-day weekends, they haven't been turning out great for when you get to Raw, and that's what we'll have to see if they do wind up doing the 3-day weekend for Royal Rumble as well. And it kind of makes you feel like, well, we already watched the 2 things we wanted to watch. Should we really care about what they do on this Monday show? And I guess it's all up to let's see what they do on SmackDown later on in this evening. So, but that's going to do it for us talking about Raw here.
Yeah, definitely. And so, of course, we want everybody to know that we are going to be doing our normal Wrestling to the Max Part 1 coming up. So, hey, if you're listening to this, hey, go check it out. That'll be episode 222 for you guys. Go check out Part 1. And, of course, we'll be doing our next edition of that show actually on Friday. So it'll be on the download for you on Saturday morning. We're doing it because of the Thanksgiving holiday. Just to let you know, if you are curious about it, if we did not skip a week. We're just taking an extra day because of the Thanksgiving holiday. And, of course, go check out the Survivor Series and NXT TakeOver Toronto, a special show we're going to have. It's going to be really interesting. I can't wait to talk about it, so hopefully you guys will go check it out if you haven't already. Besides
so if
that,
you
guys...
survive Black Friday,
yeah.
you can come listen to us.
And of course, that's also a reason we're doing all these shows for you guys. That way, if you're standing in line for Black Friday, you have something to do. So, but anyway, besides that, we appreciate everybody. So go check us out. Of course, the W2M Network and W2Mnet.com. Until we see you guys on the flip side, if you're not living life to the max.
Not living life at all.
You know it.
Peace.
Later.
The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.